Hello, hola, ciao, namaste. This is Sylvia Mordini, the founder of Alchemy of Yoga. And the topic today is photo shoots, in particular, photo shoots of yoga poses. And there's a couple different aspects of this that I'd like to touch upon. Number one, the preparation for a photo shoot of asana. Asana means poses. And then to really think about why we are posting photos of poses. What does it really mean? What's behind that? So those are the two key topics for this video. Let's get started. So first, if you're preparing for a yoga photo shoot, there is indeed a lot of pre-work that's necessary in order to get the most out of it. A couple best practices that I'd like to share. Create a spreadsheet and write out all the poses that you want to get photos of. And not only that, put them in a certain order in which it makes sense for you to put together and do right after one another, so that you're not jumping in and out of a twist, then a back bend, then an inversion, and then an arm balance to a back bend, that they're grouped together and they're sequenced just like you would sequence a class with that degree of meticulous care and intelligence. Then the second is to practice those poses. Practice in front of a mirror, practice your hair and what works, what doesn't work, and practice in the clothes that you want to be wearing. Third, do a mock photo shoot with yourself. Set up your tripod and get photos of those poses, and then take a look and see if that's really what you were going for, or if those aren't actually the poses that are going to be the greatest benefit to you personally. So then you edit that sheet and try again and take more photos. But the first time that you see yourself in these poses should not be at a paid photo shoot. You want to make sure that you've done the practice before. The other part is that so often the direct, most articulate representation of the pose is not actually the best practice of how we would do it in class because of the angles of the camera or what have you. So you may have to actually be a little bit off your alignment in order for the photo to make sense when it's seen outwardly. So just practice and look and watch. And then the practice in the mirror is just to see how you're wearing your face and what degree of effort or seriousness, or is that a surprise to you that that's what you look like in your facial countenance. So just practice to take a look, and then you can make the decisions based upon that with real life data. And as far as the day of with a photo shoot, it's really important that everything is done. You go early, your makeup, your hair, everything is done well in advance so that you're not feeling stressed at the last moment. You're not rushing in order to get to the photo shoot and meet the photographer. And for sure, you've already practiced and visited the sites that you want to have photos taken, and you've practiced at those places so that you can be really timely and get the most out of the session. What so often happens is if you've not done that practice at the sites and locations, then you get there and you waste a lot of time just, I don't know, what should I do? Where should I do it? How does that look? And then you won't get all of the photos that you wanted to get done because now you've run out of time. Yeah, so really make sure that you've done that due diligence and you understand the site, the location, and the photographer is not the one responsible for you choosing poses or even choosing the locations. You need to know what poses look best in a particular location, and then the photographer there is to work with their expertise as to how they might photograph that pose, but they usually aren't a yogi. And that leads me to my next point. It's really helpful to have a friend, or if you're so lucky to have a stylist, but a friend serves as a stylist. And they can be there because they know the yoga poses. They know, lift your back hand up a little bit in Warrior Two, spread your fingers, bend your knees more, take your shoulders up and back. They can make all those adjustments verbally, and then they can also adjust your hair or what have you while you're in the poses. And that's really, really helpful. And then maybe then you help them on their photo shoot. And that's how you work and trade to help one another. With the photographer, a lot of people tend to give their power away. So I want you to stay in your power and really know what it is that you want and be confident in that. Now, if you are doing more than yoga asana, more than yoga poses, and there are outfit changes, you're doing lifestyle and yoga poses, then you have to double the work of really understanding the order of things and making sure that you have any props that are required for your photos. So for me as a writer, I'll often use my laptop as a prop because then I'm seen writing, right? Or I might use a singing bowl, for sound therapy healings because that's an offering. Um, I might be all in white for poses of like ceremony and healing. So it just depends, but know what props you need and have them ready. Whether it's flowers, a yoga brick, mats, a strap, or something extra as well. So that's with everything there on the day of. And then be clear with the photographer as to what the expectations are in terms of receiving the proofs and the process of choosing the proofs, what is in your package, as well as what is the cost to get additional photos. What happens a lot of time is you think, yes, 20 photos are in my package. That's plenty. That's so many photos, right? That's going to be more than enough. Well, there's 365 days a year. And if you're feeding something like social media, even at one photo a day, that's 365 photos. But in this photo shoot, they're going to take way more than 20 photos. But what are the costs? So even if you got a really great pricing for that 20 photo set or that 30 photo set, but now additional photos are going to be $20, $30 each on top of that, then that's going to really add up. So as great a deal as you thought you got, any other photos are going to be where the expense is. So make sure you've negotiated that or that you understand it. It very well may be, and I've had this experience, to go to a bigger package. The reason that most yogis don't want to buy the more expensive package is they think, I only need 20 photos. I don't want to do the 35 photos. And then afterwards, they pay this premium for 15 more photos on top of the 20. And now you've literally tripled what you would have spent had you just gone with the package of 35 photos and just called it a day. So as much as you're trying to save money, I understand that. I totally understand that. But don't short-sight yourself, yeah? Now, when it comes to the using of photos, I just want to have you ask yourself, have you considered that the photos that you're intending to be inspirational for people may actually leave people that are watching your social media feeling excluded, underrepresented, shamed, unworthy, feeling as if you've posted all these photos, but there's never a way that they could possibly achieve this. And then they feel actually worse. Or those that have not started to practice yoga, which are all of our potential clients, yes, they look at those photos and they say, I'm not worthy. I'm incapable of practicing yoga. There's no way I could practice yoga. And so as the PR agents of yoga, the company or corporation called Yoga Inc., as we all are we doing a disservice posting only photos that are really extreme, difficult, the most complex photos? So think about it and really sit with your heart as to the kinds of photos that you're choosing. And if you want everyone to be represented in the yoga and wellness world, and you want yoga to be for everybody, and you want it to be accessible to all body types, to all abilities, to all ages, to everyone, then maybe you could choose some photos that really people could actually do. And they're not just the most difficult photos. So really think about that. I understand this trend towards the most crazy Cirque du Soleil, handstand on one finger and back bends and all of this. But growing up in the yoga world as the teacher this last 20 years, one, I didn't grow up with Instagram or Facebook or any of that, and thank goodness, because I don't know if I'd be the teacher I am today. And I had no pressure. But once that became part of this world, I have really worked hard to try to keep a reasonable yoga pose diet. And my digital dharma is important to me, so that I post as many photos of me sitting in meditation or doing something easeful that is accessible to regular normal humans that don't aspire to balance on one finger in a handstand, as I do some of those that are more aspirational. Yes? So really think about the why behind that. And when you do use these photos, ask yourself, why am I posting these photos? Who will these photos speak to? And who will they exclude? Who will the poses that you choose exclude as viewers to your social media? And what is the reason that you're posting those photos? Is it because you want attention? Are you feeling deficient in how you feel about yourself? What I call a love beggar, like we're going around like alms for the poor, like the musical Oliver, like where we need people to affirm us because we don't affirm ourselves. So are the poses for attention, or is it from a different place within you? And only you know that for sure. These are just questions I want you to ask yourself. And is this to gain approval or to validate that you're a great teacher, you're a great yogi, you're a great person? And is it because you're afraid that people won't find you credible as a teacher, so you have to prove your worth through the physical representation of, look, I can do yoga asana? Or is there something else behind that? Like really think about, if then two, are these poses that you actually would teach in the classes you teach? Because so often I find that someone's social media is filled with these radical poses, but then you go take their classes and they're very sweet and accessible, and they're like, oh, they're beautiful. But what they're posting out in social media is like the extreme, but that's not the reality. So how could those two things match? Is it possible, or do you even want that? These again are just questions for you to pose to yourself. And what is this driven by? Is there an internal motivation to post particular photos, or is it an external motivation? Are you trying to get as many followers so then you can be picked up as an influencer or represent a particular brand? Or are you choosing photos and performing for a brand so they see you and then maybe they like pick you to rep them? Again, these are just questions. If yoga is a study of the self through the self to the self, then it's important that our digital dharma, including the visuals that we put out there in the world, represent the legacy that you want to leave, represent what you believe in, your mission and your vision, your non-negotiables in terms of integrity and values, and that it doesn't just fall apart at the seams, that all of that is well and good, and then we go to our social media and we're just posting things without really being mindful as to the why we're doing something. Yes. So that is really, I think, everything. Like, think about what your visual story is. Does it match your brand identity, your story, who your niche is? Are they appealing and speaking to your tribe, to those that you can serve, those that you want to make a promise to help? And always holding that in heart. And from my heart to your heart, to the heart of the universe, namaste.